Hello and welcome. I'm Anand Naidu filling in for Riz Khan. Today we discuss a case of political censorship in the arts. Should some plays or movies or music or even books be banned because of the emotions they provoke? 4 years ago, a young American peace activist, Rachel Corrie, died while trying to defend a Palestinian home from an Israeli bulldozer in the southern Gaza town of Rafah. My Name is Rachel Corrie is a play based on the diaries and the emails of the 23-year-old woman. Directed by Alan Rickman, the award-winning play began a successful run in London in April 2005. It was then scheduled to move to New York last year, but was, quote, postponed indefinitely. The New York Theatre Workshop cited political sensitivities, but the playwright cried censorship. Subsequent runs in Florida and Canada were cancelled. Last month, the play finally made its American debut near Rachel's hometown in Washington State. Here's a scene.
My name is Rachel Corrie. I am 12 years old. I was born on April 10th, 1979, to my mother and father, Craig and Cindy Corrie, a brother Chris, a sister Sarah, and a really old cat named Phoebe. I learned to spell cat, to read little books. When I was 5, I discovered boys, which made my life a little more difficult. Just a little. A lot more interesting. In the 2nd grade, there were classroom rules hanging from the ceiling. The only one I can remember now seems like it would be a good rule for life. Everyone must feel safe. Safe to be themselves, physically safe, safe to say what they think, just safe. That's the best rule I can think of.
Remember, we take your questions and comments on this show. You can call us at the numbers there at the bottom of your screen. Joining me now is Braden Abraham, the director of My Name is Rachel Corrie at the Seattle Repertory Theatre. And also in Seattle, we have Rachel's parents, Cindy and Craig Corrie. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Cindy and Craig Corrie, let me start with you. Why do you think there has been such opposition to Rachel's story getting out in places like New York and Florida?
It's been confusing to us in some ways because this is a story of a young American woman who learned about injustice that was happening in the world and wanted to do something about it. We struggle with the people that find the play somehow fearful or threatening. We were very happy that there was a response. Actually, the play did appear in New York City at the Minetta Lane Theater in the fall of 2006. And that happened because there was such determination on the part of people in New York who were outraged by the fact that it didn't come there in the spring. So while there's certainly some fear and reaction that we think is unfounded, and also a fear of talking about this whole topic of Israel and Palestine, I think, in this country. We feel that a lot of people are responding to that and making sure that these words do come forward.
Craig, let me ask you this. Where do you think the pressure came from when this play was cancelled, or rather postponed indefinitely?
Well, of course, I don't have firsthand knowledge of it, but I think that what the news reported is that apparently the Minetta Lane people, the New York Theatre Workshop people talked to some of their friends in New York. They said some of their Jewish friends, and that I think their words was that it was a edgy time for Jews, and because of the election of Hamas, because of Prime Minister Sharon's illness, and so they just apparently lost the courage to put the play on there. But like Cindy said, others jumped in to put it on, and of course it is coming to Toronto, and my guess is it'll come to Miami sooner or later.
Well, at the time there was a Jewish organization called Consortium, and this is what they said about the play and their opposition to it. They said the play presents virtually no context or background on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, instead providing a one-sided recital by this impressionable girl. So basically what they're saying is there's only one side of the story here, not all sides of the story. And Braden, I want to address this next question to you. As an artist, as a creative person, a director of drama here, do you believe that in a production like this, both sides, you have a duty to present both sides?
No, actually I don't. I feel like all good theater inherently has a point of view. That's what makes it good drama. And here I think you have a character who has a passionate drive to initiate change that also creates good drama. So while I think it's important to discuss all sides of this issue, I think as a play, this play has to stand on its own terms, and those terms are Rachel Corrie's experience.
Okay, let's go to the phones. We have one of our viewers calling from Casablanca in Morocco. Sammy, go ahead with your call, please.
Yes, I think under the First Amendment rights, we in America have the right to debate God, to debate George Bush, to debate the war on Iraq, to debate Jesus, Moses, and everything else, but we are not able to debate anything about Israel.
Well, thank you for your call there, for that observation over there. Craig, let me put that to you. Do you think that this is a question of constitutional rights in America?
Well, I suppose in some sense, but of course it is a play, and it's a play about a person and her first hand view of something. So in a way, what I get disappointed about is that people discuss the play without having seen the play. I think if people go to the play, they're going to find out that this is actually a story about a woman growing up in the United States, a very Northwest United States viewpoint play story. But it's Rachel trying to find herself, it's Rachel trying to find her voice as a writer, and then it's Rachel finding out what community means to her and enlarging that sense of community until it includes the rest of the world. And then a person in the United States discovering that if you come from the United States, which is an area of privilege, that you have a responsibility to others in the world to recognize them and try to work with them to make a better world. And so I think that's what the play is about, and I wish people would see the play and then have a discussion on those terms.
Braden, what kind of response have you found from people who have seen the production in Seattle?
Well, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I think for me, the biggest credit to the production and to the play is when people come expecting a certain kind of polemic, and they walk away having seen a very human experience and someone who was at her core a humanitarian and an artist, and they see they report to have seen a very full portrait of this person and what she was trying to do.
Well, Braden, I want to stay with you. I suppose this could be a little bit of an irony, but there have been bids from Israel for this play to be staged there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's fantastic. I think this play should be staged there.
Do you know anything about those bids? Do you know if it will be staged there?
I don't personally. I mean, you know, we've had some interest in this production, but I think my feeling is that I'm very happy that this production has further proved that this play has a lot of artistic merit, and hopefully gives courage to producers all over the world to move forward in either, you know, bringing this production or mounting their own productions.
Okay, we've got another caller on the line. Mark from London, go ahead with your call.
Yeah, hello. Actually, I've been wondering concerning this problem between the Israeli and the Palestinian. I'm a Christian. I don't know if this program can answer this question. I want to know if it's really proper, the way the Palestinian people are being handled, because when I see some things on TV, I feel so bad what is happening over there. So I just want to know if this is proper, if it's something is sanctioned by God to happen to these people. Thank you.
Well, okay, let me put that question to Cindy. Cindy, I'm not sure whether you heard our caller there, but he was saying that generally the manner in which the Palestinian view is being portrayed is a problem.
I know that that's true here in the United States. I sometimes think it's less true in other parts of the world. It's something that our family personally works on all of the time, but also many other people in this country, a wide spectrum of people, religiously, certainly Jews, Muslims, Christians, but people who aren't even religiously affiliated, who are in groups across this country that are working very hard to bring attention to this issue, and who recognize that there has to be a just peace in Israel and Palestine, an end to the occupation and the oppression that Palestinian people are living under and have lived under for so many decades. There are many working on that, but it's an uphill battle. I think we're making progress. But we, Craig and I particularly, because we have been very public in the last 4 years, have done a lot of media, we're aware of the kinds of editing that sometimes happens in presentations, in news articles. We had an incident of that just this week in our own community. So all I can say is it's something that we're continuing to work on. And yes, I think there's a very limited, often a very limited portrayal of Palestinians that really is not fair.
Craig, let me ask you this. When you look at the fact that this production was not staged in places like New York, in Florida, it was also cancelled in Toronto, in Canada, you once intimated that there was money involved in this, behind the pressure. You know, you said influence and by extension, affluence rather, and by extension, money. Do you have any evidence that this was the case, or was that just your feeling?
Oh, I don't think I said there was money. I'm sorry if I gave that impression. I just think that
I think what you said in the article I read was, you know, you have to follow the money.
Excuse me, I think we've lost the feed, but I'm going to hope that you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I do know that I think now what you're talking about, and I think that I told somebody follow money, because I think it is a hardship of not-for-profit theaters that sometimes pressure can come on not-for-profit theaters, not just to not do one play, but they can bring pressure to not do future plays. And so that is a hardship there. And of course, the way it did come to New York was with a for-profit producer who could just write the check and put on the play. And it will come to, again, I said, it will come to, we do have a theater in Toronto that wants to do the play. So I don't think that the artistic community will allow a censorship to really go unchallenged. That's my sense of it, and I have every faith in the artistic community.
Okay, we have another caller. This person's calling us from Israel. It's Arthur. Go ahead with your call, sir.
Yes, hello. This is Arthur Rosenbach calling from Israel. I have, a few years ago, I pointed out that, according to my knowledge, Rachel Corrie is a member, or was a member of the ISM, International Solidarity Movement. And I pointed out that on their website was written that any means were allowed by the Palestinian people to resist Israel, which means actually also condoning suicide bombings. That has been perhaps removed recently, but I wanted to ask the parents of Rachel Corrie if they support this view of the ISM that any means of the Palestinians is allowed to resist the occupation of Israel, which would actually imply murdering innocent civilians.
Well, let me put that question to Craig and Cindy Corrie. The caller there was asking whether, well, he cites something which was in the International Solidarity Movement's writings, which says that any means could be used to resist the Israelis by the Palestinians. And by an extension, he said, you know, does that mean you would condone suicide bombings?
I think that's really a misrepresentation of ISM's views. Craig and I have met ISMers all over the world, including the 7 who were eyewitnesses to Rachel's killing. In absolutely no way do they condone suicide bombings or violence. I want to say that there are 2 requirements for belonging to ISM, and one is that participants believe in the right to freedom for the Palestinian people based on international law and believe in their human rights. The second is that they agree to use only nonviolent direct action resistance. Craig and I have been in the West Bank and Gaza. We have stood with internationals, with Israelis, and with Palestinians who are nonviolently resisting in places like Belin, a little village where their land has been, 60% of the farmland has been taken to put in new settlement and the wall. And here you have this gathering of people coming together to nonviolently resist. And those are the principles behind the people that are working with the International Solidarity Movement. I think that the misunderstanding may come with the fact that ISM probably on its website does recognize the right that Palestine has, that people in the West Bank and Gaza have to resist under international law. And that isn't limited to nonviolent resistance. Nonviolent resistance would certainly be the way I would advocate for, and I think all in ISM, most all in ISM would also.
Apologies, we've lost the line there to Seattle. Let's go back to Braden Abraham. He is with us from Seattle. Braden, are there any lessons that you take away from what has happened with this particular story?
Well, I think as a play, it's been a singular experience for me, not only to engage with this play as an artist and with Rachel Corrie's writing, which I think has quite a bit of artistry in it. I mean, she was not only a humanitarian, but she was a fantastic artist. So to engage with that material has been wonderful, but also to see how this play has affected the community and sparked dialogue. It's what great theater should do, I think, in any community, and this play is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. Braden, we don't have too much time. We have about 30 seconds, but I was wondering if you could tell us if you will make another attempt to stage this, or will attempts be made by others, including yourself, to stage this in New York and the places where it was postponed?
Well, the play has actually been staged in New York. As Cindy pointed out, it was staged at the Minetta Lane Theater in 2006. No doubt there will be future stagings there. I don't know when. You know, I'm a big advocate for this play, and I hope it continues to be produced all over.
Thank you very much. That's
welcome.
Braden Abraham talking to us there from Seattle. Also Cindy and Craig Corrie, thanks for joining us. On our next show, we take a completely different track. We speak to a funny man, South Asian comedian Russell Peters. He'll be with us. Don't forget, if you have any thoughts about pressing issues around the world, send your emails to riz@aljazeera.net. Street Talk is next, but before we leave you, we have we leave you first with, we have an interview with Rachel Corrie that was done in Gaza.
What I'm witnessing here is a very systematic destruction of people's ability to survive. And that is incredibly horrifying.